Hi, I'm Sergeant Sean Laughlin with the Broomfield Police Department. Today we're standing in front of the Broomfield Police Detention Center. We're going to look at an expansion we just completed. It's very exciting. Latest in technology, under budget, increases our capacity to over 200 inmates, and we'll build this jail out for about the next 20 years. First, we're going to go take a look at the existing side of the jail. Then we'll transition into the new facility. You can see how we integrated the both. Let's go take a look at it. Welcome to the Broomfield Detention Center General Population Men's Pod. This housing pod is designed to be one-stop shopping for housing inmates. You've got several different areas that are cordoned out for specific activities. You've got a specific dining area and game area, TV viewing area, cells are on the south side of the building, an officer workstation. Here in this pod, you have offenses that range from misdemeanor traffic offenses all the way up to first-degree murder. You have misdemeanors that integrate well with felons and vice versa. The lower cell is all felon inmates. The top cells are all misdemeanor inmates. And the reason we do that is because we want to keep clear classification so that the officer who sits at that workstation can clearly know and identify who's in which pod and what cell at what time. This is the women's pod. When you come in here, you'll see that there's only 4 cells in this pod, which has a maximum capacity of 12 inmates. We've been at capacity in the women's pod for at least the last 3 years, if not longer. It's one of the driving reasons and forces behind having the expansion of the jail, so that we can properly accommodate the ladies that come into the facility, which is an increasing number of overall populations of inmates, period. Special Management Unit is broken into 2 sections. The lower section is those disciplinary issue inmates, high escape risk, or otherwise individuals who don't play nice. And the upstairs, which is the intake inmates. Cells 7 through 12 are for inmates that just come into the facility and are continuously observed to ensure that they will acclimate and fit well to the jail. We're stepping what's known as a sub-day room. These sub-day rooms allow us to separate classifications of inmates out to ensure that the proper classification, for example, a disciplinary inmate would never be housed with a medical hold inmate who needs to be segregated from the general population. Disciplinary inmates are typically housed together so that they can be managed on a similar schedule throughout their day. This is what a typical hardened cell looks like. This would be known as a maximum security cell. No frills in this cell. Stainless steel sink, stainless steel toilet, 1 cutout, stairs to access the bunks, and the view is of the back side of the building. For those of you that wonder just how hard jails can be, this is a perfect example of what crime prevention should look like. This is where a typical inmate on disciplinary lockdown would spend 23 hours of their day. They would only come out for 1 hour a day. That's just enough time to shower, use the telephone, and maybe write some letters. Otherwise, they would stay in this one cell, confined in this area for 23 hours per day. Welcome to the Broomfield Police Detention Center Indoor Recreation Area. This area is used for recreation for all our male and female inmates for the existing facility as well as the new expansion facility. This is indoor, temperature-controlled area, allows us to do recreation inside, which is important because we didn't want the surrounding area, the businesses and the residential neighborhoods, to ever see inmates recreating outside. There's a certain distaste for that. So this facility was built inside, completely self-contained, monitored with 2 CCTV cameras, open recreation area with remote control windows for ventilation, and lighting controlled by staff. We do all of our laundry in-house. It's all an inmate-led activity. Inmates that are considered inmate workers, so inmates that have lesser charges, lower security classification, are allowed to become inmate workers. This is their assigned duty for 8 hours a day up to 40 hours a week per state statute. They'll come down here, they'll be responsible for the entire area of the laundry. They'll do all the laundry and all the cleaning out of this area. Without supervision of staff. They're monitored by CCTV. It's a very low labor-intensive product that they produce. You'll notice the various colors of uniforms that we have. The specific reason is we want to know at a glance which inmate is in jail for what offenses and what security classification. For example, yellow designates a brand new inmate who just got in the facility first 48 to 72 hours. Higher suicide risk for those inmates, require a lot more attention from the staff. Green, on the other hand, is an inmate that has already been classified. We've already got a thorough background history on them. We know what they've done, what they haven't done, and they're allowed to wear the green. Blue are for female inmates only. Orange is for high-risk inmates, possibly an escape risk, but it's most certainly some type of disciplinary issue in their history. Red, high-risk inmate, 2-officer rule only for escorts. These are typically your high bond felons, first-degree murders, etc. Striped outfits, these are for our outside inmate workers. So these are inmates that their crimes are so minimal, typical traffic offenses, minor theft violations, not much of a criminal history, and very low security classification issues. And this is important because these are the only inmates that are allowed outside of the facility, always with a staff escort, of course. And of course, the khaki color are inside inmate workers who have not risen to the same security classification as the outside inmate workers, but they still have such a lower institutional history that we're not concerned about allowing them access to areas such as the laundry or the kitchen, where they can continue to do things that in the end save the city and county of Broomfield a lot of money each year. This is the booking area. This is about the busiest place in any jail. Certainly is no exception here in Broomfield. We process between 2,500 and 3,000 people per year. That includes juveniles. We've taken a real conscientious approach to modern technology. For example, every inmate here is what we call pitted when they come in the facility, and if their fingerprint doesn't match upon release, then that person doesn't get released. Another unique feature that we have here in Broomfield that no other agency has, in the state of Colorado, there are 2 of these machines and we own both of them. These are known as Motorola LifeScan digital fingerprint machines. These take digital photographs of each fingerprint of each arrestee and allow you to rescan, submit, erase, delete, modify fingerprints, including demographics. These fingerprints are then emailed to the state of Colorado, where they're processed in approximately 1.5 to 5 minutes. This is just an example of Broomfield trying to stay ahead of the technology curve and always out in front. We are now going to enter the Master Control Center. We recently retrofitted the entire control center. It is now undoubtedly one of the most state-of-the-art control facilities in the country. The technology is currently incorporated as, at best, a dream for most agencies, but for us, it's a reality. Just a few of the tidbits of technology in here. You have 113 IP HD cameras throughout the facility, all monitored here in this control station, which can be split out into 2 completely separate control stations or be ran by 1 police officer. They have at their disposal a camera matrix. What this allows the officer to do is to have a camera view on either side of every door, no matter what. That's important from a security standpoint, because when someone wants to move in and out of a facility, you need to know who's on both sides of the door. This gives them a one-shot glance to tell who's in the facility at all times. I've worked at the Broomfield Police Department for just over 9 years. I came from a different agency that didn't have the same philosophical view of employees that Broomfield does. This job is important to me because I get to do what I love to do, and that is care and custody of inmates and supervise staff. I get to work in a beautiful environment where I'm treated extremely well, and I get the latest in technology, and I get a chance to make a difference. If I can return these inmates back to society better than what we found them, that makes me feel a lot better, and they're also part of my community because I live here. I'm going to introduce you to Sergeant Chris Terry. He was in charge of the expansion project. He's going to take you through all the new areas of the expansion.
Here at the Broomfield County Jail, we've gone through a big expansion. The expansion itself cost about $10.9 million. We came in under budget, and it was built without using any bonds. It was all built with existing funds. This is our new video visitation area right here. And these are the public side booths where people coming in to visit any of our inmates would sit down and be connected at the other end with the inmate who actually remains in the pod itself. Right here we have a visitation for about 20 minutes, sessions at a time, 3 times a week. And here we are on the other side of video visitation. This is in the pod. This is the side that the inmates would sit at and communicate with their family and loved ones that come in and visit on the other side. And now we're in our inmate dorm. This is new to the facility, and as you can see, we aren't quite finished with the setup yet, but this is for inmates that are minimally classified but sentenced at the facility, and they're going to be performing work functions here. The inmate dorm opens up to the new men's pod, where we can house 48 minimally classified inmates. The top floor is minimum security. The bottom floor, you'll see, is a sub-day room there where we have our intake inmates. So on the second floor of the new men's pod, which will hold 58 inmates, this entire area is supervised by just 1 officer. And as you can see, looking into one of the cells, we've got wood furnishings and porcelain furnishings, which all apply to direct supervision. And what that means is basically the furnishings and the way that we supervise the inmates raise their behavior to a level that's appropriate for their classification. So continuing in men's pod, this is another new feature we have with the expansion, and that is the open rec area, which is actually attached to the pod itself. This gives us the ability to have inmates that are in this pod to be able to come out and recreate without leaving the pod itself. So it's more secure for us, and it gives inmates the ability to get some fresh air and see the clouds. So still in men's pod, this is the lower level. And in here, this would be the intake dorm. You can see the difference in the accommodations from the second level. Everything here is steel. That gives us time to gauge the new inmates to find out how they're going to acclimate to the facility itself. And then once they're classified, they may go to a different area where you see the different type of furnishings, the wood and the porcelain. So all of our intake inmates for the first 48 hours after their arrest will stay in a sub-day room like this area. They remain in here with 5 hours out in the sub-day room and the rest of the time in their cells. We do that so we can kind of get a feeling for how they're going to acclimate to the facility itself. Once they're here for that 48 hours, they go through a classification period in which they are switched over to another pod based on their charges and how they're doing in the facility. The jail expansion also accommodated a new work release, so we could add that program to the programs that the facility already offered, enabling inmates who would qualify for that with minimum security charges to be able to maintain their community ties and their job, as well as serve a sentence in-house. This is the entrance to our new alternative sentencing unit, which is work release, where inmates will work out during the daytime and then come inside and turn themselves in and spend the night at the jail. So again, we're in the women's work release facility, and this is the first floor. Right here they have the ability to hang out. They'll have a small refrigerator and a television. So this is the second level of work release, and while the first level was for programs and check-in, the second level is more of a personal space for the inmates themselves. And up here we've got some tables, but we also have their dorm beds where they'll sleep at night. They have the ability to shower up here privately and get ready for work every morning. The expansion was built at this time to accommodate the additional inmates that we've had, more specifically the female inmate pod, which was overcrowded. This is the women's pod, which will hold 40 women. It's a mirror image of the men's pod. We'll have minimum and medium security inmates. The bottom is all sub-day rooms for our disciplinary inmates and our intake inmates. In this one pod, we can have the 5 classification areas that we've got for the men in the rest of the facility. This is our isolation cell on the expansion side. This is the cell where we can put individuals who are acting out and fighting us, where they can be placed safely so they don't hurt themselves or hurt any of the staff. This is our new program space. We've offered programs for the entire history of the facility. And in here, what we'll offer is mental health programs, drug anonymous, AA, religious studies, Bible studies, and this will also double as our new video advisement room where inmates will be able to come here during their initial appearance. They'll see a judge over a video monitor and not have to be transported the 6 miles over to the main facility. We've got one of the most progressive facilities in the entire country. We practice direct supervision here, and by doing that, we have less jail assaults, we have a more secure facility, and I believe that we put people back out into the public that better reintegrate. I worked for the Broomfield Police Department for 15 years now, and the last 8 years I've supervised over in the detention center, and have had the opportunity now to build the expansion for the last 2.5 years and really kind of put my own signature on the facility itself.
There you have it. Today we've seen the existing part of the Broomfield Jail and all the brand new expansion parts of the jail and how we integrated the two together. If you have any questions about the Broomfield Police Department, please go to www.broomfield.org and click on the police link.